Well, hey there, everybody. Yeah, just jamming out to a little bit of my good friend Van Morrison. Love the guy, man. On the same wavelength. That's what they're talking about. So, hello, how y'all doing? It's a beautiful day, man. I'm just digging it. Going to be warm, and it seems like it's warm all over the world. And hey, time we're living in. But let me just say, favor be unto you. Favor means empowered to prosper. And if you're prospering, that means you're on the good side of things. So, welcome. And so glad to have you. Love the backdrop, eh? I came across that when it went up and I said, now that is different. So, hey, so Bosto to everyone. Hello, Nina. How are you doing? And Susie Q and Peter, good to see you. David Berry and David Castle and Carol and is that Janny? Good to see you. And hey, Gaia, what's up? Bonnie, hello, hello. And let's see who else is here. Man, just hey, Joe Sabian, Deborah, Zigzagzilla, haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you. The backdrop is exactly, you know, I feel kind of empowered and got this today. Someone sent from Greece. I had to sign for it, but yeah. So this is, and I'll get it for you. Fortuna. Fortuna was, let's get her up here. The Roman goddess of fortune, chance, and prosperity, and one of the most popular Roman deities during the period of, I think that's Servius Tullius. So pretty cool, isn't it? So she's got the anyway. Thank you very much. It'll go right up here next to the place of honor, as they would say. So yeah, so what's happening? Lots going on tonight. The Steiger perspective. Going to be talking about the Great Reset. Artistfirst.com, 10 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Mountain, 7, wherever you are. You can figure it out. And it's happening. I think that this book, hey, Robert V., how are you doing? Light Bear, good to see you. Far out. Emperor Rex, hello. Hey, Chloe, good to see you. David Casso. Let's see. Do we believe in those things? Beliefs, to each his own. That's what we say, right? Let's see. Rachel tuning in from Bulgaria. Well, hello, Rachel. And Julianne Payne from Australia, which is 4:30 or 4 o'clock, or I don't know. What time is it there? It's early. That's all I know. Uh, so, Gilbert, good to see ya. Hard Truth, greetings. So, Suzanne, what's happening? So you're going to like it. We are in the reset. It's happening. Started this year. We're feeling the effects of it, and it's only going to get more intense. Hey, Wise April, good to see you. Thank you. Love the shirt myself. It's one of my favorite. I mean, I've had people look at me and say, "You're crazy." And I say, "Mm-mm." I got another one that says, "My mother tested me, so I'm not crazy." I know. So anyway, let's tomorrow we will do the card reading. Got a full day tomorrow. It's cleared. So there you go. And I also want to say something to everyone here. Thank you for the likes. YouTube apparently has, I don't know, revamped their algorithm and got this thing, this channel. We rate in the algorithm at above the 1%. I mean, we apparently consistently hit high percentages on the like, and I mean literally some close to 100%. So thank you all. That is, it counts, you know. So far out. Appreciate it. So let's get on with the primordial gnosis. Isn't that what we're all seeking here? Is to, how do we get out of here? How do we get back? We all want to go home. We're all homesick. We want to go back to that what we know, what we've always known. We are from a place where time does not exist. The concept of time, the reason why it frightens us is because it's foreign to us. It's a reality, a creation that we never knew of. And time, when it's imposed upon you, is hell. It is. We're not even eternal. We're beyond that. Eternal implies, never ending, but we're beyond a place where there was never no beginning. So for the concept for us to have an ending is not normal, no matter how many times we may have gone through the process. It's something that's foreign to us. And that is exactly what we're learning here. So we're getting near the end. I'm excited. I got Tina coming on and Marsha, I believe, as well. Probably next Wednesday, it looks like, we'll be wrapping this up. And then I want to have a discussion. And there's another book behind this. So how many of you have had, those of you that read this and have done the self-initiation, finding your dreams, the best word I know for it is clarity. Yeah, I think that's what I'm looking at. So let's get rocking and rolling. And we open where we left off. Whatever your libation is. Cheers. Rennie, to you, my dear. Anyway, drink them and, smoke them if you got them. Isn't it interesting? The state of Oregon legalized all drugs. Now that's liberation, I guess. Actually, I think it's pretty smart, but that's neither here nor there for the conversation. All right, chapter 18, Light and Darkness. For thousands of years, Hindus have maintained that all creation, everything created, is Maya, pure illusion, a trick, seen through the eyes of the spirit. All the work of the demiurge, does not really exist and is nothing more than a big lie. Liar, pants on fire. The created world, as perceived by the senses, is the great obstacle which separates man from the real world. Man is not only misled by delusions of matter, the delusion of matter created by the demiurge has to be joined to the delusion of culture created by man, but at the service of the demiurge. All cultural stimuli with which man is continuously bombarded tend to keep him in a state of confusion and meekness. Case in point, that's what an amusement park does to you. That's what Las Vegas did back in the day. The whole it was magic, folks. I mean, it's the only way I can really lay it out. They bombard you with overloading the senses, and it becomes hard if you stay, as many of you know, as the casinos got bigger into resorts. The idea was to keep you captured inside, and the way they do that is to provide everything the five senses could want. And you pay for it, sometimes far more than what you anticipated. Books, newspapers, magazines, cinema, television are some of the means used by the representatives of the demiurge to keep man hypnotized and obedient and to make sure he carries on acting like a sleepwalker, working, sleeping, wasting time, and missing opportunities. Boy, I'll tell you what, when you get older, folks, you begin to really realize, particularly when you do awake. Sadly, many older bodies do not. Many souls just, they came in asleep, they're going to go out asleep, and they'll repeat this process. But you really do begin to realize there are so many opportunities in a day, is the only thing I'll say. They never wake up just like the perfect zombie or the golems of the demiurge, serving a purpose which is not that of the spirit. Wasn't that really probably the true message? If you read the Gnostic Gospels, I have them all, covered many of them on this show, that was really the true message of the Christ. You know, I'm going to channel Mr. Morrison. Break on through to the other side. The Spirit. All this mass confusion, this great Maya, which comes from creation and which is carried on by means of culture, is passed on in turn by fathers to their young children and later by teachers in schools. In this way, the slightest hint of the spirit is annihilated from the day man is born. Wow. They don't teach anything in schools about spirit. Nothing. And the thing about it is, there'll never be a void within you. It's going to be filled with something, whether you choose it or someone else chooses it for you. But they don't teach children who have the most abundancy of it, spirit. How many of you have seen, I think it's called Paranormal on Camera, or anyway, of the guy over in Russia who had his dog out in the field, and the dog, it looked like it was a hunting dog, rounded the corner, and as the guy was running to catch up with him, he's got his camera rolling, and as he turns the camera, he catches an older woman with a young child, a toddler, looked to be somewhere about 2 or 3, and the child was in a state of levitation, levitating approximately about 8 to 9 feet above the ground, and you could tell that she knew she was levitating. Now, that was the whole idea behind the X-Men, is that if you really were to teach children about the spirit, it would absolutely alter the course of reality itself. But we don't. I like that. The day man is born. All rebellion, disobedience, opposition, and all that comes from the spirit is annihilated through punishment, threats, and brainwashing. By transforming their children into machines of blind obedience, the satanic parents are forming the future slaves of the demiurge. In the middle of all this mass confusion, man thinks he knows what is good and what is evil. He also thinks that by doing what is called good and avoiding what is called evil, he is completely fulfilling his duty. He does not know how confused he is, that he is living a lie, that he is continually deceiving himself and others. He does not know because he is asleep, because he has been brainwashed, and because his spirit has been nullified since birth. Most men call light that which is true darkness, and they perceive true light as darkness. Let's just stop and meditate on this a second. They call everything satanic originating from the demiurge good, and everything which originates from the unknowable God as evil. It's interesting, the implication here. We're so brainwashed, even it's difficult even for once you even awake to these truths to comprehend that what you have been told is light by all the religions, even by political parties. You'll have one party say, we're the light on the hill of 1,000, blah, blah, blah. Yet, when we see darkness, we're told that this is the primordial fear. Darkness, bad. Light, good. Again, when we started this book, it said specifically, light that we perceive in this universe, when you look out at night and you see the stars, and when you look up at the day and you see that big star in the sky, blocking out all the other stars, they're still there. That's what we perceive to be light. All the pictures you see of all the holy figures and all different religions are surrounded by light. And we think that that is holy. That is good light. But yet the very creature that is called the light bearer does not bear a light that can be seen with human eyes. It can only be seen with the spirit. That's what they mean here by the true light as darkness. There are two opposing forces at work within the outside of man, the creator and the unknowable, the creator and the uncreated, the soul and the spirit. One of these represents evil and darkness, and the other good and light. It is easy to imagine what the stance of the Gnostic and that of a sleeping man would be. It is said that the whole history of mankind can be explained as the fight between light and darkness, but what light and what darkness? They never told me that in Bible school. They never told me that in church. What light? What darkness? All I knew is that there was only one light, one darkness. And we're over here on the good side. Yeah. Most people are not aware that they are spending their lives struggling in favor of true evil. What man calls light is the light created by the demiurge, since man does not know any light superior to it. It is the light which comes from the created world, and which, for the spirit, is unfathomable darkness. Darkness, which comes from the demiurge and his demonic creation, is what man calls light. Man calls truth the great lie, the great deception, that which we can call the great mockery. There is another light. It is superior, it is inconceivable, and it is unknowable. The uncreated light, which comes from the kingdom of the true and unknown God. What would happen if this light burst into this impure universe? Man would go almost blind. What would he see? Would he see a light? No. He would see the night. His eyes are not ready to see this infinitely pure and perfect light. He would be frightened, fearing, and rightfully so, that he would be destroyed by the light. So he would call this light evil, darkness, which happens with everything seen through the eyes of the impure, the body, the soul of man, and not through the eyes of the spirit. This is the confusion between darkness and light, the same confusion that exists between the Creator God and the unknowable God, between the created and uncreated, between the soul and the spirit. That is why man unwittingly calls true darkness light and true light darkness. True light would blind and destroy him. If man could withstand the vision of the true light without dying, he would see unfathomable darkness because he would be seeing the true light. Chapter 19, the Black and White Lodges. Much has been said lately about the White Lodge and the Black Lodge. The beings that form these lodges work in other dimensional planes, which are invisible to the common man. It is said that the White Lodge is formed from supposedly highly evolved beings who try to help man evolve in agreement with the grand plan which the Creator, God, set aside for his material creation and his creatures. As this lodge is trying to help man, so he can satisfactorily fulfill his function within the plan of creation. It is called White Lodge or White Brotherhood. It would be something like the good lodge, the good lodge of good beings of light. On the other hand, we can already imagine who the members of the Black Lodge are. Those who are opposed to the plan of the Creator God. Those who are trying to prevent this plan from being carried out. Surprise anybody? This is the Black Lodge, the bad guys of the film. We should make it clear that we are using the term Black Lodge to avoid confusion, because that is how it is commonly known, having been given that name by the agents of the demiurge. The representatives of the spirit would never form a lodge. Its true name is the Black Order. The White Lodge works in favor of the Creator God and his plan, whereas the Black Lodge works against it. For that reason, members of the Black Lodge are called the Mistaken Brothers, because being able to help with construction, they decided to destroy. And being able to do good, they opted for evil. When it is stated that the members of the Black Lodge are opposed to the perfect plan of the good demiurge, effects is a rejection and a natural aversion to these enemies of good. Dun, 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 dun. That which has deliberately been hidden for centuries is that these enemies of the only God do not oppose the work of this Creator just for the sake of opposing it. The fact that they have another God who is not the devil, but the superior and true God has been hidden. The struggle to make the demiurge's plans fail is the sacred task of these warriors of the true good, and this has been hidden. It has been hidden that the unknowable God also has a plan, infinitely brilliant and perfect. And all this has been concealed from us to better deceive us and to better discredit and slander the warriors of the Spirit, so that we cannot wake up and so that we cannot be like God, knowing good and evil. This is a war which started with the Big Bang, thousands of millions of years ago, between these two forces of darkness and light, between the Creator God and the unknowable God. The White and Black Lodges are their respective armies. Since this is the world of the demiurge, he is the one who decides who to call white and who to call black. The world of the demiurge is also the battlefield where this war is fought. How are these masters of wisdom of the White Lodge commonly represented? Folks, if you got ears to hear, this is the time to have them tuned in. These are the deepest truths. These truths mirror 32nd degree Masonic Lodge secrets. Excuse me, folks. We're talking, this is true Gnostic. They are represented as angelic and kind, bearded, and wearing white, as if they were pure and immaculate. They are represented like this in order to better deceive the gullible, so that no one suspects that these are real demons in charge of carrying out the satanic plan of the demiurge. So that no one suspects that these deceivers of man are the ones trying to make sure that mankind carries on blindly, advancing towards spiritual death, so that no one ever finds out that these executioners of the spirit are those who desire that each man were one more cog in the wheel, one more machine, one more link, one more ant in a universal communistic anthill, which the satanic demiurge has set aside as the final destiny of mankind. Does that give you the warm and fuzzies? I feel like there's someone watching me behind my back. Oh, yeah, there is. It is said that at the end of each man's evolution, if he has lost the battle of the spirit and cannot fight anymore, that is when he will see the true faces of these false masters of the White Lodge. In the last 150 years, these members of the White Lodge have started to be described, each time with more clarity. Their names, appearances, and characteristics can be found in books by Helena Blavatsky and in books by others who followed her, Alice Bailey being one who stands out. We're going to read some of Alice's works. Got it in the queue. We have spoken about one of the members of the White Lodge, Santana Kumara. What a name. I said Santana, but it's Satan Kumara. What a name. It is just too much and had to be disguised later on. Satan Kumara. If you know its name, you control its game. So they disguised it, changing it to Sanat Kumara. Each one of them, like the demiurge, has many names, many disguises to better deceive. Some of them have the real names of demons, like Maitreya, who is said to be the real Christ, or the masters Mora and Dawa Kul. Others have notable titles such as Prince Rakosi, a true prince of the darkness. There are many more, all similar. All these demons, empty eggshells of a demiurge, will be disintegrated in the Pryla along with everything created. That's a hell of a future. On the other hand, members of the Black Lodge are represented as terrible, monstrous beings. In what other way could they be represented in the world of the demiurge? They are called messengers of Satan or agents of Milan. They are represented as destructive monsters, usually dressed in black to better confuse the gullible. Leaving aside the lies which have been invented to better discredit them, let us now analyze some of the characteristics of the warriors of the Black Lodge. And I just want to stop here. And I want to warn, if you haven't read this before or haven't actually heard it, this is where the awakening starts within you. Those of you who I would say are warriors, and there's many of us here, this is where it starts, in my opinion. Firstly, what appearance could a divine being, a being of light, who enters this hell have? Think about it. Certainly not a happy face, but one full of pain, disfigured by all the suffering. The sacrifice of beings of light, who invade the world of the Dimmerers to help men who have lost their way, involves the worst suffering imaginable. They didn't teach us this. To sacrifice us. Trina and I have talked about this. Many of us have made great sacrifices to be in this time, this incarnation, at this event point. Secondly, what color did we say a sleeping man perceives the uncreated light? The darkest black, of course, because the true light blinds the impure man. To be represented in black is an honor for the warrior of the spirit, because black signifies pure light, blinding light, true light. Thirdly, how do these beings of light behave when they burst into the Dimmerers' universe? When the warriors of the Black Lodge infiltrated this created hell, they do so for a limited time, to carry out a precise mission, and then to get the hell out as quickly as possible. They have no time to waste, since this impure world is an inconceivable torment for them. On reaching the great demented monstrosity of the Dimmerers, the right thing to do is to hit the exact spot where it hurts and escapes. For those coming from the unknowable world, the war against the created is a total war. For them, nothing created deserves to be saved. It's either or. One of the things I found about this book is that it impacts you to the point where you have to make a decision. You may say, oh, no, it's just a book. I wish it was that way, because it will linger and you will make a decision. I think this is why they suppress these books. If a common man could see these beings, he would be scared by their aggressiveness and destructiveness. He would perceive them as dangerous enemies, like the beings imagined by Lovecraft, or those in films such as Hellraiser or Predator. Viewing reality through his body and soul, the common man sees the pure as impure and his saviors as enemies. Whoa. There's nothing a savior could do if you see the savior as your mortal enemy. Warriors of the spirit loathe matter. They are indeed destroyers, but destroyers of the impure. If a common man came face to face with these beings, all that was impure within him, his body and soul, would be disintegrated. These beings are formed from the antimatter fire of the other world. Therefore, not a single created atom can collide with them without disappearing. If these warriors were to approach a common man, they would destroy his body and soul, although not his spirit, which is made from the pure fire, just like them. Only the absurd aspects would be destroyed, the sick parts, that which imprisons the spirit, the coffin which encases it, the body and soul of the animal wrongly called man. On the other hand, men transmuted into pure spirit will never be afraid of anything. They can indeed see reality such as it is. They can see it indeed and discriminate correctly between good and evil. They can indeed see the members of the Black Lodge as they really are. They know that the antimatter fire only destroys the created, not the uncreated. The spirit is not afraid of death, simply because, as far as the spirit is concerned, death does not exist, because the spirit is eternal. And the day everything that is garbage is destroyed, that is to say, the day on which all creation and its creator are disintegrated, when nothing remains, not even a single atom, body or soul, only the spirit remains, freed forever. Now, there will be no more duality, and the world will go back to being one and only one, the unknowable, eternal fire. Whoa. I got to read to continue to keep the pace, but whoa. That's just, it's still, it like, it hits my consciousness, my spirit, and it's like seeing an atom being split. Still impacts me. Wow. Chapter 20, Rebellionness and Opposition. Gnostics, having outlined the absolute and irreconcilable differences between the Creator God and the unknowable God, consider the God who created the world as something completely inferior to the true and unknown God. It is natural, therefore, that they maintain that all the laws and orders of the God who created the universe and man must be disobeyed, because that is not the word of the true God, but that of the other, the impostor, the inferior, the inept one. For Gnostics, all that exists in sacred religious books is not the word of the true and unknowable God, but that of the Creator God of the demiurge. His commandments, which he wants men to obey, such as how they should interact and how they should worship and serve him, appear in those books. Gnostics conclude, then, that if those laws are those of the demiurge, they can and must be destroyed. Gnostics oppose, in advance, everything that comes from the demiurge on principle. All that the Creator says, orders, and demands must be disobeyed, because he is not the true God, but an impostor who considers himself to be the only one, by his own words. Seen from the outside, and on a superficial level, by an average man, this Gnostic position appears to be an abominable rebellionness. The common man imagines that a good God created man, loves him, and wants to help him, has high hopes for him, and needs him in order to perfect and complete his work. This common man would view this Gnostic position against the good Father who brought him into the world with horror. Man, the best of all the creatures that God created would be rebelling against him, opposing and renouncing him. How awful. But what the common man does not know is everything that we have said up to now concerning the good Father and his works and plans. It's the trap with the New Testament. Who is this Father God? It's not Jewish, not Hebraic, not Islamic. Who and what is it? And it still judges when it says that it's yet pure love. Not true love, pure love, but yet it still judges. And if it judges, well, then where is it getting this whole thing for human sacrifice? You see, it's all a matter of perspective. For Gnosis, the rebellion against the demiurge does not only free man from his slavery and servitude, it also weakens and takes away power from the demiurge. Through his constant opposition, the Gnostic gradually acquires a power equal, then later superior, to that of the Creator God. There's still some places in the world for me to say those words. If man were only a body and soul, if those two entities created by the demiurge were the only things that man were made from, of course, there would never be any rebellion at all. Nothing created rebels against its creator. What happens is that there is something in man which was not created by the Creator God, the eternal Spirit. The Spirit has been brought from outside and does not belong to this world. It has been added to the monstrosity, which is the body soul, to make it function and evolve. But it was put there against its will and finds itself imprisoned in matter, encased. It is the spirit which rebels. It is not rebelling against its creator, but against the one who imprisoned it. Take note, this rebellion comes from the spirit. It is the uncreated in man which loathes and opposes the creator Satan and his work. The Gnostic man, one who has transformed himself into his own spirit, one whose spirit has freed itself and takes possession of his body and soul to use them as instruments, will be a great rebel, an adversary, a Satan of the demiurge and his work. We are Satan. That's what it's saying. We are the adversaries. His actions will be imposing and devastating, just like every liberated spirit. And, as in the case of Cain, the demiurge will have no power over him. One of the things in my studies that I found was that this Jehovah, this Elohim, this Yahweh, never had power outside the boundaries that were described to Abraham. This God could never go outside of Israel and exhibit his power. He had no power against Moloch, had no power against Baal and all the others, but only in his concentrated little area. Yet, this demiurge is the one that everyone perceives as the God of the Bible. Now, folks, if you want to talk a trickster, that's the biggest trick of all. On the other hand, a man who is half asleep will be semi-rebellious. He will blindly search for a way out. He will almost unconsciously be opposed to the created world which surrounds and suffocates his spirit. His semi-conscious attitude will not allow a rebellion or opposition capable of putting the demiurge or his work in danger. This God laughs because the vast majority are not committed. And it knows you are just simply the flock. And you know the thing about flocks, someone wrote, they don't put up any resistance. And they'll go over here, and, and they'll kind of be like, I'm on the border. And, and the shepherd brings them all in for the culling. Oh, no. Don't want to talk about that. So it's no threat. We have said that during the process of liberating the spirit, man acquires a power equal and then superior to that of the created God. We have also said that rebellion and opposition, powerful and sustain, weaken the demiurges and takes away his power. This takes us to the four possible positions regarding the idea man can have of the creator God. Very interesting here. The first position is the demiurge exist. The God who created heaven and earth exists. The second position is the demiurge does not exist. This is atheism. The creator God does not exist. All that exists is a product of the blind evolution of matter. These first two positions, God exists, God does not exist, are the traditional positions in the history of mankind. It was always thought that there could not be a third position, but along came Nietzsche and declared that God has died. This is the third idea that a man can have of the creator God. God used to exist, but now he is dead. This idea appears to be somewhere in the middle of the God exists, God does not exist position. The fourth position is the Gnostic position. The creator God exists, but he must be eliminated by man. Whoa. You don't want to go around in public saying that. This last position appears to be the one which has caused the most horror, judging by the way it has been prosecuted and hidden. Gnostics maintain that the creator must be trapped and weakened in such a way that he cannot create anything else and finally disappears. The duality of worlds must be eliminated by man, so there will be only one kingdom, that of the unknowable God. Gnostics maintain that the attacks must be aimed at the creator God to break the endless return of the manvantras and the pralas of experimental trial and error in this great plagiarism which will never attain perfection. If the atomic chain reaction destroys everything created, the demiurge would create it all again. That is why for Gnostics, it is the creator God who must be defeated and eliminated. In this interesting film called Warlock, a witch who is the bad guy tries to find the exact words with which the demiurge created the world. Pronouncing this formula backwards would make all creation disappear. This is not a bad idea, but rather a possible waste of time. If it happened like this, the demiurge would create it all again. Another important theme is suicide. Suicide would appear to be a rebellion against the creator, but it is not. Those who think that suicide is a means of escaping from the clutches of the demiurge are wrong. When a man begins to wake up and starts to see things as they really are, he fears he has gone mad. He realizes that everything he has been taught is lies, that he is surrounded by madmen and sleepwalkers, and that he is stuck in a giant concentration camp inhabited by the insane. If this man does not quickly find other men who are awake like him, it is likely he will think about committing suicide in an effort to escape from the prison. That is why most men prefer to remain asleep. Most of them do not want to know the truth. They are living in a huge mental institution invented and controlled by the superior madman. Only a minority of very brave men and women will seek out this special knowledge capable of waking them up. We have seen that attempting to destroy the work of the demiurge is useless, since he will only create it again. In the same way, then, suicide is also a mistake, a useless rebellion. In this case, the complete opposite of liberation. When the common man commits suicide, his soul is separated from his body and delivered to the demiurge, taking the spirit with it, as the spirit is tied to the soul. Next comes judgment, punishment, and karma. This is what happens every time a man dies, and suicide is no exception. In the case of suicide, the punishment inflicted by the demiurge will be greater. The prisoner has tried to escape and has been trapped again. Ooh, double punishment. The prisoner who has committed suicide has not escaped from anything and has liberated himself from nothing. Here he is in the hands of the demiurge once again. The common man, suicide is neither a way out nor liberation. On the contrary, it is a worsening of his situation. But in the case of a man who has fulfilled his spirit, everything is different, since he is not a common man anymore. He is a man who has escaped from the prison of the demiurge. The demiurge and his punishment cannot reach him now. The laws of karma do not exist for him now. He has transformed himself by his own free will into something uncreated within the created world, and he can do whatever he wants, even including suicide. His impure body and soul have been deified by the spirit and no longer belong to the demiurge. His body and soul and spirit have been converted into only one thing, something indestructible, immortal, and eternal. For this type of man, suicide is simply a way of moving from one point in the universe to another, or from one dimension to another. This type of man is the one who is described in the Christian myth. It is said that when they went to look for the body of Christ, they could not find it. The tomb was empty. Of course, since the spirit had taken the body and soul with it. After death, the spiritualized body and soul transformed into one inseparable unit with the spirit, leaves along with it. In the book of the teachings of the masters of the Far East, it's the same thing. It's what they teach. They teach you don't. It's like Mr. McGorm and his wonderful Emporum, played by Dustin Hoffman. If you've never watched it, go watch it. This is what this is talking about. Let us look at an example of a famous suicide. Now we are talking about Christianity. That of Judas, the man who betrayed Jesus Christ. The common man, uninformed and confused, would say that Judas is a monster, that it was his fault Jesus Christ was crucified. Judas is the bad guy of the story. Who could like Judas? However, for Gnostics, Judas is a hero, a benefactor of mankind who, through his betrayal, helped Jesus Christ's mission to be carried out. A Gospel of Judas, I have it, does exist, and which narrated all of these events from Judas's point of view. You can already imagine what happened to this gospel. According to Gnostics, Judas came to help Christ with his mission. It's the only reason why he was born. Judas's betrayal is what led directly to the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. The death of the Messiah redeemed the world. The redeeming death of the Savior would not have occurred without Judas. Without Judas, Christianity would not have succeeded as a religion. How different a history of man would have been if Judas, the best of the Lord's disciple, had not existed or decided to abandon his mission. What could it have mattered to Judas the fact that future generations would say that he was a monster? Such is the destiny of heroes, of great men, here in the hell of the demiurge. Judas knew without a doubt that he would later be spoken about badly, that he would be mercilessly discredited and hated and despised by everyone. But what could this have mattered to someone who came to carry out an essential mission, and together with no less than one of the saviors of the world? That is why Christ said to Judas, Judas, what you have to do, do it quickly. His betrayal was fundamental for the future of Christianity. He should be heralded as a saint. He was not from this world. That's why he is not heralded. What could Judas do after successfully carrying out his mission? He had to abandon the world of the demiurge, since he had no business being here anymore. Having completed his mission, he had to return to his home in the unknowable world. Judas committed suicide. Traditionally, we are told that Judas made his way to a tree and hanged himself. Having completed his mission, a warrior of the spirit can resort to suicide as a way of quickly leaving the hell of the demiurge. He can do it because he does not belong to this world. And as we have said, neither the Creator nor his laws have any power over him. The suicide of a warrior, a superman of the spirit, is one thing, and the suicide of a sleeping man is something else. This is why Judas' suicide is not the same as that of a common man who despairs over the slightest thing in the world of matter and then one fine day kills himself. Gnostics state that the tree on which Judas hanged himself was no other than the tree of Eden. Wow. Blows me away. I mean, that just simply... All right, I want to get into this, and then on Monday, we will really get into it seriously. We only have a couple more chapters. The Gnostic initiation. And I'll go to about 15 after the hour, see how far we get. Initiation is a ceremony, usually a group action, in which secret knowledge is transmitted to an aspirant who will produce great changes in him. Once initiated, the aspirant will never be the same again. When initiation is real, is true, it is a turning point in the aspirant's life. There is before and after, as regards the initiation, because something has occurred in the ceremony which has changed his life in a spectacular way, something he will never be able to forget. I mean, think about it. For myself, several things. I remember when, became a Boy Scout. Remember as I worked up, there's a ceremony. It's an initiation. I have known people who received initiations in different places, but on no occasion did they notice anything special. Without a doubt, these were not true initiations, but when someone receives a true initiation, his experience is in fact very striking, and he will never forget it. Some compare this experience to that of having been struck by a kind of lightning flash in the middle of the ceremony. This lightning flash is what produces the terrible change which will mark the aspirant's life forever. Now, we will never again go back to being what he had been before, The rest of his life, he will remain focused on the goal, the specific objective of the initiation received. Every man, sooner or later, will have to choose one of the only two paths, opposing and irreconcilable, open to him: fulfillment of his soul or fulfillment of his spirit. There is no third possibility. The path of the right hand towards the demiurge by means of perfection of the soul, or the path of the left hand towards the unknowable God by means of liberation of the spirit. The latter is what makes up the particular goal or objective of an initiation. And that is why there are only initiations of the soul or initiations of the spirit. The purpose of both is to facilitate the candidate's access towards the destiny he has chosen. It is important to know the main characteristics of both kinds of initiation in order to differentiate accurately between one and the other. Many people who are unaware of these details fall into traps, which will lead them directly into the jaws of the demiurge. It is easy to make a mistake, since there are many disguises and falsifications to consider, as well as lack of books and information. Let us have a look at those things it is necessary to take into account to be able to reject the poison fruit offered to us by the servants of the demiurge. Firstly, the objective of the initiation of the soul is the final merging with the demiurge. This is of prime importance. If someone talks to us about the union with God, losing oneself in God, the fusion of the individual conscience with the one conscience, Shamaha, the dissolution in the demiurge, we will know that we are dealing with a religion, a sect, or esoteric movement with the demiurge is behind. Of course, the initiation that can be granted, there will be initiations of the soul, not of the spirit. On the other hand, in initiations of the spirit, the aim will never be a fusion with any god. At the end of the path, when the total confrontation with the demiurge occurs, the initiate will have to resist and reject him, exclude him, and exclude himself forever. In these cases, it is not about Shamdaya, but, and I think I have this right, Kai Vala, absolute separation. And this is what this book is about. If you take it seriously, I do, and you make that commitment of the self-initiation, there's no going back. Once you separate yourself by your verbal words and by the intent of your spirit to separate yourself from this created God, it's down. The record is set and it cannot be altered. There ain't no going back. You are now truly the enemy of the God of this creation. You'll be marked. Anyway, let's continue. But special Kai Vala, not only total separation with respect to everything created by the demiurge, no, real Ka Vala inevitably includes total and separate, absolute separation from the demiurge himself. Secondly, in initiations which leads to the demiurge, the aim is to weaken the self of the aspirant and to push him to renounce to it. Every religious movement which works in favor of the demiurge will give great importance to the need to destroy the self of the aspirants. For fusion with the demiurge to be successful, it is fundamental that the aspirant renounces his self. Once the self has been disintegrated, the empty shell into which the initiate has been converted will be quickly filled by the demiurge. This man has surrendered himself to the demiurge like a sacrificial animal, has attained nothingness, and the nothingness has been filled by the demiurge himself. The goal of the demiurge has been achieved. This man has come a long way to end up dissolving himself in the one who created him. On the other hand, in initiations of the spirit, the aim is always to enlargement of the self and the accumulation of power. Enlarging the self is to get close to the spirit. If the self does not exist, the spirit cannot manifest itself. Renouncing the self is to renounce the spirit. Thirdly, in initiations of the soul, there are talks about evolution and future and progress. The soul has to evolve until it is fused with God. All creation evolves towards God. Mankind will continue to evolve until it becomes a universal communion of souls. The world gets better every day. On the contrary, in initiations of the spirit, there are talks about return and the past. The world is heading towards its deterioration and destruction. That's why we don't want a future. We don't belong here. We don't belong in this reality where time even exists. There should be no future. There should be no past. Not even the present. There is nothing good to look forward to in the future. The restoration of something that there was in the past is essential. In order to repair the great injustice carried out by the demiurge and his con men, it is necessary to go back to the past to deactivate everything, to liberate that which has to be that has to be liberated, and destroy that which has to be destroyed. Fourthly, in initiations of the soul, one will hear talk of compassion, devotion, love, generosity, and service. Compassion for all beings created by the demiurge. Love for the demiurge and for other men. Love of everything that the breath of divine life has brought into existence. This breath of divine life is no other than the breath of the demiurge. Service is about servicing other men and the masters of the White Lodge and the demiurge to restore the plan on earth. Also emphasized are blamed and regretted. On the other hand, in initiations of the spirit, the candidate is like a warrior who has declared total war on the forces of matter. One does not hear talk of peace, but swords, the fight of freedom for freedom and taking the heavens by assault. That's what the Christ said. He said, heaven is taken by what? Assault. The men with swords, by force. Weird. Why would he say that? It is not about love, devotion, blame, nor regret, but duty, honor, and revenge. One has to take into account that as the aspirant is spiritualizing, aggressiveness and repulsion for all that is anti-spiritual and impure, material, and created increases within him. This is the natural hostility of the spirit towards the demiurge and his work. If the spirit felt love for the demiurge and his creation, it would not be a spirit. It would be a soul. The soul is pure love for the demiurge and his work. The spirit is pure hate for the demiurge and his work. The details which we have stated here allows us to better identify which side these people or religious groups which pretend to help others are on. When we listen to them or read their books, we will know straight away if they are with God or with the devil. It is air of darkness in which one can only hear talk of the fulfillment of the soul, of the powers of the soul, of the perfection of the soul. It is good to remember that although persecuted and denied, liberation and fulfillment of the spirit also exist. Once the two possible kinds of initiation have been identified, we can go on to take a look at the other characteristics. And I think, yeah, I will cut off there. We'll review back on Monday. Anyway, wow. Heavy stuff, man. This is heavy stuff. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Woof. So it makes one think, doesn't it? It does me. That's all I can say. It causes me reason for pause, as they would say. I'm trying to get everything back up here so I can see where I'm driving this bus. All right. So thank you, Danny. Appreciate it. Yeah, Stephen, it is deep, deep stuff. And, you know, this is not kids' play. This is not kids' play. This is not pretend, let's all hold hands and sing Kumbaya, because we've been singing Kumbaya to the wrong thing. You know why peace has always evaded us? Because we're not praying to the peace to a God that even has the idea of peace. It's foreign. Susie Q, I agree. Thank you, Posey. So tune in tonight over on artistfirst.com and 10 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. my time. We'll be talking about the Great Reset. Folks, this is part of that reset. You and I, as we listen to this, we're being initiated. And, you know, you can't walk away from this knowledge. You can. I don't know why you would, but you can. And you made a decision. And I think it doesn't come along all that often. These singularity of moments in every spirit's existence. And, you know, we'll find out. Hey, Gaza, how you doing, my friend? So good to see you. Well, okay. I still dig this this virtual background. That's going to be a good one. All right, folks. See you tomorrow with the panel. I hope all of our panel will join us. You know, we'll see who shows up, and I think they all will. And tomorrow night, I think we have the Andromeda 7 premiere. So check that out for sure. And you know, I think Robert has his Milky Way Soul Tribes meeting on Saturday. So folks, get in. Let's continue to support each other and let's continue to grow. Listen, it was this group that brought this Gnosis, this Gnostic knowledge to us. Knowledge. Yeah, I like that. The knowledge. And look at the profound effect. These are heavy precepts. I mean, they're wow, they're mind expanding. Okay, much love. Peace out, baby. Basto to one and all. Favor be with you, and we will see you tomorrow. And have yourself a great day. Much love to you all. Thank you for hitting the like button. It's amazing what y'all do, and you know, I don't usually ask, but hey, it seems to work. So thank you, and we'll see you later. All right, much love to everyone. Bye bye.